Hello, my name is Balisa Malefe, and in today's presentation, I'll be talking about the core components of a virtual machine and how virtualization can be applied in business environments. Virtualization is one of the most transformative technologies in modern IT. It allows organizations to run multiple operating systems on a single machine, improves efficiency, saves costs, and increases flexibility. Let's start by understanding exactly what a virtual machine is. A virtual machine, or VM, is essentially a software-based representation of a computer. It runs on top of a physical machine, but operates as if it were a separate, independent computer. You can install an operating system, run applications, connect to networks, and store files, all within the VM, while keeping it completely isolated from the host system. The beauty of virtualization is that it makes it possible to run multiple virtual machines on one physical server, each with its own operating system and resources without them interfering with each other. Now let's break down the core components that make virtualization possible. The first thing being a hypervisor. The hypervisor is the heart of virtualization. Type 1 or bare metal hypervisors like VM, XEX, Microsoft Hypervisor V, and Citrix Xen Server run directly on the server's hardware. They are often used in enterprise environments for better performance and stability. Type 2 or hosted hypervisors like Oracle VirtualBox and VMware Workstations run on top of a host operating system. These are great for smaller scale or use for development testing. The hypervisor allocates CPU power, memory, storage, and network bandwidth for each VM. The second component being virtual hardware. A VM uses simulated hardware, including CPU, acts like the processor in a physical machine. The hypervisor assigns a portion of the host CPU to each VM. The virtual memory works like physical RAM, storing temporary data and application instructions. Virtual network interface card allows the VM to connect to networks, either isolated or bridged to the internet. Virtual storage, presented to the VMs as hard drives or SSDs, but actually stores as files on the host. The third component being the guest operating system. Inside the VM, you install a guest operating system like Windows, Linux, or Mac operating system. This operating system does not know it's running on a virtual hardware. It functions exactly as it would on a physical machine. The fourth component being virtual disk. A virtual disk is usually a single file or a set of files that contains the guest operating system applications and data formats, including VMware and Hyper-V and virtual boxes. The fifth component being configuration files. These files store VM settings such as CPU allocation, RAM size, network type, and connected storage. They allow the VM to be easily moved, copied, or backed up. Now, let's talk about why businesses are so heavily invested in virtualization. Firstly, server consolidation and cost saving. Instead of buying 10 separate servers for 10 workloads, a company can run all of them on one higher power server as VMs. This reduces hardware costs, saves on power and cooling, and simplifies management. Secondly, disaster and recovery high availability. VMs can be backed up like any other file. If a server fails, the VM can quickly restore or be migrated to another host, minimizing downtime. Many businesses use live migration features to move running VMs between hosts without interruption. Thirdly, testing and development. Developers can run multiple operating system environments on the same machine. For example, testing softwares in Windows Server, Ubuntu Linux, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux without needing separate hardware. Fourthly, scalability and flexibility. If a business needs more resources, it can simply allocate more CPU or RAM to a VM without replacing physical hardware. Number 5 and last thing is security and isolation. If a VM gets infected or compromised, it doesn't affect other VMs or the host. This is particularly more important in industries that handle sensitive data. Here's an example from my own professional experience. A medium-sized company I worked with used VMware ESXi to host both their internal applications and customer-facing services on the same physical server, but in separate virtual machines. This allowed them to run payroll, email, and web hosting securely without interference. When a hardware upgrade was needed, we migrated the VMs to a new server overnight with zero downtime for businesses. In summary, virtual machines are built on components like hypervisor, virtual hardware, guest operating system, and virtual disk and configuration files. They give businesses the ability to save costs, improve flexibility, ensure disaster recovery, and run multiple environments securely on the same hardware. Virtualization is no longer optional. It is an essential tool for modern IT operations. Thank you for your time, and I hope this presentation has given you a clear and practical understanding of how virtual machines work and why they matter in today's business world.